Welcome to the Ohio State Beekeepers Education Training Series. I want to welcome everybody tonight. We're going to talk about the education training meeting about PowerPoint, all the ins and outs. I've got my computer kind of changed around a little bit here, so we're going to do some dragging and dropping. And if you see my head bobble around, it's because I got 10 monitors tonight and I'm trying to get them all talking to each other. So tonight we're going to cover just the absolute basics. If you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask. A quick discussion of PowerPoint overall. Then we're going to cover some software, some paid versions of it, and some free versions of it. And then we're going to get into the graphics, taking the photos, taking all kinds, any type of photo you can get horizontal. So when you're holding your phone, you're taking that picture horizontally and taking it vertically, because in a PowerPoint, when you're adding other information or other words, you want that dead area to be able to put wording, and it gives you a whole different thought. If you're used to photography and your rules of thirds, when you're trying to put the subject in the center, now you can take the picture of the bee and stuff and leave it off to the left or the right, and then leave area for wording, and it fits perfectly into a PowerPoint. So I'll get you thinking some different ways. Some other stuff is from Google Internet. I'll show you how to nab some pictures off of that if you want to. The types of, we're going to go through JPEG, PNG, TIFFs, and bitmaps, and that shows you some of the graphics that you see in a PowerPoint. And then I'm going to take a couple of my PowerPoints and tear them apart and show you exactly how they're built. The PowerPoint itself, we'll go through the basics of it tonight, inserting photos, graphics, and videos. And videos is probably the biggest that everybody has a difficulty with, because at home it worked great. And then I put it on a flash drive and then I took it and now it doesn't do it. Or you'll see a speaker say, yes, I'm hitting and now it's not working, or it's not linked. And then there's a lot of other things to that, but videos are very easy once you understand the basics. And then just some tips and tricks that will go down through the basics of this. So to get started off, and the pros of it. I love PowerPoint for this fact. It's immersive when you turn around and tell your story that you're good at. So for all of us right now, it's about bees. You can turn around and show the pictures. You can show the microscopic pictures. You can turn around and make it almost your own story, that when you're clicking through it, when you got your clicker and you're clicking through it and you know your PowerPoint in and out, you're telling the story, and that storyline goes right along with it. The more advanced is when you start getting into animation, and you can make jokes with yourself and then put those jokes into graphics and things like that around the outside. There's a lot of cons with PowerPoint, and we'll just cover some of the basics. There's so many different versions of PowerPoint. There's Office 360, there's OpenOff, the free version, there's Google, and there's tons of other ones in the background that when you turn on and create it, and this is probably anybody who's had a PowerPoint, you turn on and go to the PowerPoint and they say, bring your jump drive. And you take your jump drive with you, you plug it into their system, and all of a sudden, all your wording is shifted. Your photos are not maybe CMYK, and now they're RBG, and everything's just off about your PowerPoint. Or I've seen speakers, we went up to Wisconsin, no names on this, but the speaker got up and it completely shifted his PowerPoint, and it put some of his slides from the rear into the front and back and forth. So he went up there and then just kind of winged it after about the third or fourth slide, because everything was absolute atrocious. Great pictures, great PowerPoint, but the format was completely different. So when you take stuff, there's, we'll go through all the drawbacks on this. The hardware and software is exactly that. There's how many renditions of Windows 11, Windows 10? Some people are still on XP, laptops, iPads, Mac versus Microsoft. Your PCs, some of them have HDMI drives, some of them have out ports, some of them have display ports. So depending on how you're projecting this and how things are all set up, I'm going to suggest to you is find something that you like. We're going to go through all the paid versions, all the free versions. Find something that you're going to go, hey, I want to get into this at an entry level, or I've already got a setup and how can I make this better? Videos are probably the biggest. Even Jim too has talked to me before at our fall conference. He says, Jamie, that thing worked every time, but he brought me his PowerPoint in the videos on a jump drive, and I'll show you how to get that connection back together. There's a lot of drawbacks to it, and we're going to walk you through step by step. So please don't feel like as though if you have a question, please ask. Your equipment, you need at least a laptop. No one's going to carry around a PC, but your laptop, whatever you design it in. So if I have my PC right here, it's a big gigantic computer. If I build it with Open Office, and that's the PowerPoint version I'm going to use, I want that same version. I want the same version. So 11.1.2, I want that same version on my laptop. I want it identical. If you only have a PC or you only have a laptop, make sure that it's in the same thing or same software, same format, same revision. If you build it on a PC and put it on a thumb drive and take it somewhere, the reason you're probably having problems is because they're in Windows or they're on Mac or something else, and it's going to completely change things. The internet will change things around if you're going to upload it to a Google Drive. Your backup, for me, I put my PowerPoint on my laptop. I put it on a thumb drive that's usually got a necklace or a leather band that I put around my neck. And then I also back it up to the cloud. So if I get there and something happens and all of a sudden you go to open it up and it locks up, I have a backup that I can instantly put the thumb drive in, go from there, or pull it down from the cloud. And I'm always ready about 45 minutes before, running through my PowerPoint, making sure everything's clicking, all the videos are launching, and having everything ready to go. Your paid versions are Microsoft Office 365. And I have that right here. So if you go into PowerPoint, PowerPoint here's the whole 365. This is a monthly cost. It's right around $120, $130, if not more. So I can make my PowerPoints. I can build it in here. If I go somewhere else, this is probably the best rendition that someone else is going to have it. So if you're going to go to, I'm getting ready to go to Summit County here in a couple months, or I think in a month. So I'm going to turn on, if I only took a jump drive, and I'm going to say, what's the software you use on your laptop to project this? And at least let them know that you have your own laptop, you're going to project it yourself, or what you're going to do. So your software and everything on your PowerPoint looks the same on the other side. When I go through this, here's my PowerPoint. This is my style. Nobody has to, this is not the best, it's not the worst, but it gets me by and it does exactly what I want to. So when you build this, this is exactly what I want. I go down through it. This is the paid version. If I don't want the paid version and you don't have the money for that, and I understand that it is quite expensive when you do it, there's also a free version. And I have it. It's called Open Office. But this is called Impress. Right? Yeah, Impress. This is a free version, and I'm going to pull this over. If you want to download this, and while that's loading up, if you go to the top here and just type in Open Office, it's called Apache Open Office. You can download it for Windows, Linux, Mac, everything else. And this is a free version. It's just like Open Office or Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and everything else. But they're making it a free online version, but things are a little bit different. So when you go down to the Open Office version of this, let's go ahead and shrink that up. Let's go to Open Office again. Oh, CapDraw, Impress, Math Writer. I thought it was Impress. I'll wait for this to load up. So Open Office is the same kind of rendition. There, it opened up. Same kind of rendition, but this doesn't have all the icons. It's a little bit more simplified, and this is what I started out with. Same kind of thing. You'll see the same kind of format. I like taking pictures of my own, so I have my pictures in it. If I do have other people's pictures, I kind of give them credit or put their name with it. So same kind of thing. Not a lot of selections up here, but it's the basics. When I hit slideshow, it's the same thing as the full version of the Open Office, or excuse me, of the Microsoft 360. So when I put these together, this was Jamie starting out, just basic pictures, basic words, and you'll see those same kind of things. Some of these things I've stolen from other ones, but this is the free version of it. There's also, if you have the internet and you have a Google account, and let me pop this open. If you have, we'll go to the presidents. If you go to your Google account, the 9 dots off to the side, there's also one, it's a free version, and it's called Slides. I can build one within, and we used it for the fall conference at different times. I can start a blank one here, and this is an online version that you could use. Now, you could use this and go to another place. If it was online, then it would be the same format, same everything, but you would have to be internet based. So if the place you're going to doesn't have good internet, then your PowerPoint's going to cut in and out. But I can do the same thing here. I can use facilities. I can go background, color, black, choose image. Let's choose an image. Ohio State here. Done. So now I can turn on and change. I mean, that's just as simple and easy as a real quick. So there's 3 different versions. You have your Google Online. I can also export this and turn on and download. And I can turn this into, it doesn't do it perfectly, and I'll be honest, but I can take this into a Microsoft from Google and turn it into a PowerPoint into Microsoft. I can change this into plain text, PDF document, PNG, and I can change things around on it. So you have really 3 different versions. You have the Google version, you have the Open Office version, and then you have the online version with the other. And let me go ahead and get out of this 1 second. And we'll open up, let's open up a PowerPoint here. And bees, let's go to graphics, presentations. And I'm going to show you a real quick about starting your setup. This is overkill, so please don't think you have to compete with this. When I start my graphics, here's all the graphics that I have about beekeeping. And this is just a small one. This is one of my small drives. Most of my artwork that I have, start taking your camera and take all your pictures of your JPEGs with your camera, with your phone. Remember, take your phone, put it horizontal, and also put it in vertical. So you can start saving those pictures. Down to, so you can create things like this. Nice background, that's out one of the cemeteries in Defiance. Nice fall day, just put graphics with it, plain and simple to use. All the way to, you can use Corel, do JPEGs on this. So now I can start using all my different graphics and different things within it and start taking things apart. So here's things that are just simple and easy. So here's one I just made for honey judging. Where's the fill line? What to do? So that could be an entire talk just on honey judging, just on doing photos that you've run and made from different contests that you've seen, different things that you have around your own home. Let's all the way down through some different stuff that way. So you can have single bees. There's Reed Johnson. So when you start a collection like this, start a collection of like animation, beekeeping, borders, club pictures, officers, covers, 1 pound of honey, live webinars, stuff for OSBA, PNGs. PNGs does not have the white background like you would see around a photo, like this photo here of a camera, and you see the white edging around it. A PNG is transparent, and I'll show you that in the slides here when we start to build a PowerPoint. So here's just things that I've taken. I done a wax class, pictures of wax, pictures of kids, technology, honey judging, different things. So when you start building your I call it a repository of photos. So start saving all these things up as much as you can, wax moth, that when you build your PowerPoint, now you can turn on and use that. Here's a lot of PowerPoints. Here's for PNGs, just for PowerPoints. So a lot of these things I've stripped down. When you do your talk, you want to make this more immersive, that they see something. So when you're talking about a hive or doing a nuke, take that picture when you crack that hive apart of the bees belching out, or take that 10-second, 15-second video. Remember, horizontal and vertical when you start putting these things together, so you can turn around and start putting together your PowerPoint. And this is the basis of what you want to talk about. So let's go to, let me go PowerPoint and presentation. And let's just grab one here. One day production. PowerPoint, cut tone production. No, that one. Let's go 5 copies. New presentation. Okay, I like to build mine now in Office 360, just for the fact that I have it. I still, if I want something basic and simple, I can do it another way. When you start to build these things, depending on the complexity, now you're at the paid version. Now there's tons of buttons, tons of different layouts. It just gets a little bit overwhelming. So we're going to go through the basics on each one of these. The next Saturday, we're going to go into a deep dive. So let's talk about, we've already talked about the software. The paid version is the Office 360. The free version is your Google Suite. If you have a Gmail account, it's all free, or you can download it at Open Office. We covered some of the graphics. One of the other types of graphics that you can do very easily, if you don't have a repository of tons of photos, let's tonight talk about, we're going to start putting together a PowerPoint about propolis. So all the good things about propolis is to go up to images, go down to tools, and you'll see this right down here where it says size. I want to take things at a medium or a large size, depending on how much I want to blow it up. So right now I'm going to say medium. I can go in here and start taking some of these. So I want to take, maybe I like that picture. Down here on the right-hand side, you'll see the size of that graphic. So it's 1074 by 641. That's a good size picture to put on a PowerPoint. You don't want to take anything, let's see if we can find a small version of this, something very, very small. Yeah, no, that's 1,000. Let's go up and do this on purpose. We're going to take a small icon size. If I was to take this at 256 by 256, and then I wanted to blow that up on my PowerPoint, then you're going to get that pixelated picture, or it's going to be fuzzy. So fit the graphic to the type of graphic that you're going to put in there. So if I wanted to put this in the corner of that PowerPoint, you're fine. But if I wanted to blow that up and it starts to look pixelated, remember to go back. Please don't take copyrighted materials. I'll say that as a disclaimer. But if you're going to turn on, snatch things out of here, you can go down to medium size and then start putting this, see where it comes from, make sure it's not copyrighted. You can right click, save image. For right now, we're going to save this onto the desktop. And then I can call this what I need it to. Notice it's a .jpg. So this is going to have that white background behind it. So we're just going to say propolis and honey. And let's grab a few of these real quick. And we're going to grab Another one we're going to explain. Again, look at the size, 1200 by 600, good size photo. And we're going to say propolis on frame. And we're going to switch this. Instead of a P, we're going to do a PNG, propolis with PNG. And you'll notice some of these now have like a transparent background. So let's save this one. This is a small size, a PNG honeycomb. And let's go down through here. Let's take this one. Save image as. I don't know if that's a JPEG. That one there. Save image as. No, that's a video. Propolis teacher. All right, that should get us. That should get us about where we're going to be. So if you're going to take graphics and you need it as a reference material, and you want to put wording with it and say, you know, I want to talk about propolis. What does it look like? Now I have one on a frame. I have it as it's chipped off to the side. This would be like a beginner's talk. Or if you're making tinctures and you do an advanced, this would be a good time to start taking that. And pictures of your own stuff is just as easy. So we're going to talk about, let's start a brand new one. File, let's say, new. When you start a new one, I can start out with a blank, absolute clean slate. But if I see something down here that I like, I can turn around and take any of these. If I want something in the background, maybe I want the flowers with it, maybe the little wheat, galaxy. This is your own preference. And make this your own. Don't look at somebody else's and go, well, I like, if you like something, like the bits and pieces of that, the way he presented it. How do you know a picture is copyrighted and not take it? That's a good question. If you're gonna take it, let's go back to the internet here in the propolis. I would look at stuff like this. If it has somebody's name or there are things like that, B propolis, that's usually somebody's logo. A lot of these things you can turn around and click on. Like here's one with just all clip art. So this is all PNGs. And I have a repository of all kinds of photos up here in my clip art that has a lot of the places you can go to that has a repository of things for bees background, honeycomb background that are free of charge. And I'll put together, I should have done that earlier. I'll put together a whole background of all these links that you can go to and take these type of things. So let's just say we're going to take this one. And a lot of the sites that I have are not, they don't have anything threatening on it that you would turn around and get a virus or anything like that. So you like this one, you can go down and load it, download for free. I only have 2 moves. Oh, that's a close, it's an ad. This one will pop right up and I'm going to say honey, oh, that's a honey dipper. A honey dipper, and I'm going to save this to the desktop and save. So now I can take these as PNGs and I'll put together a nice little thing in there with all that different stuff. So we're going back. I want to be tonight. I'm just going to turn on and we're just going to say present title here. I just like the background. Make it your own. Make it something that when somebody sees that kind of style, they're going to go, yeah, I know that's Absolute Kathy, or I know that's Ted, or whoever else. When you're putting your graphics in here, there's different ways to do it. Your graphics, this is going to turn on and be your PowerPoint, customize your cover screen, presented by the title. So tonight we're just going to say, just for the basics of it, a propolis. So is that a catchy title? No. The creating value added products from, oh, spelled that wrong, propolis. Creating value-added products from propolis. A little bit catchier. And then you can turn on and come in here, resize. So anytime you do a font, here's the font box. And we're just going to go through the basics on this tonight. So this is giving me over here on the right, or on the left, excuse me. Over here on the right, or the left, it's showing me all these things that PowerPoint was already put together with. I can change this and make it my own. So building confidence. This is going to be where propolis is made. Or let's put how propolis is made. An introduction. How do the bees use it? How is it made? Question mark. Health benefits of. So now I can kind of customize and go down through here. And if you notice, your pictures that you're going to start taking are the same way. Put them off to the left, give yourself plenty of wording to the right. And this is just a template. You can customize this the way you want, take things out, break things apart, and make it your own. So at the top, value-added products from propolis. When I click on anything in here, some of these are already built in. If I cannot move the background, that means it's already in here. I can't change it. If you want to turn around and start building them from scratch, then you can start adding the background to it, or you can do an overlay and put your photo on top of it. So like before, I want to try and take this photo of propolis. I want you to think about when you build a PowerPoint, think of layers of a cake. You got the bottom layer, the middle layer, top layer, you know, the icing, the sprinkles, whatever else you want on it. And I can customize this so I can have my wording down below or wording above. Let's take that out. And I'm going to take this photo and shrink it down, but it doesn't fit just right. So that here, the letters kind of match in. So I can go over here and change the color of the font. Let's make it a little bit darker. So in the box, text box here, I can turn on and start this, and I can start another one. And this is going to be by Kathy. Always give yourself a little bit of credit in there. Another nice thing to do, and I do this just for myself, V 1.1. So if I give this talk, and while I give the talk and I go, oh, that didn't sound right. Or when I do my practice runs, and we'll cover this in the second part, when I'm going over it and I do any changes to this later. So Kathy just gave this beautiful talk about propolis, but in the middle, she kind of fudged things and it's like, well, that didn't flow real well for me. Or while she was giving the talk. The next time I do that talk, I'm going to say, and nobody knows this number system, 2.5. So I went in there and proved it so I know the PowerPoint better. It's in the back of my mind. I changed the things around. I practiced on it. And the next time you want to do this, or she starts taking pictures of her own propolis, now she can go in here and go, okay, I want some propolis in my glove, on my leather glove. And I'm going to put my hand up here and I'm going to change this graphic around. Just go down and change it. So when you start to store these or start to build a repository of PowerPoints, you know, okay, version 1, okay, it was good. I had some good pictures, but version 8 is awesome. And I really had a good attention. And always look at the feedback from everybody while you're giving this PowerPoint. So I want to show some power. I want to show the propolis on here. But when I drag this out from the corners, it drags equilibrium. So as I pull this, it's going to shrink and move right with it. If I want that dead space out of here, I can also right-click once, go to crop, and now I can crop this just a little bit and make this more about the propolis, or we'll show you a couple different ways here. As I move this up and down and kind of switch this around, let's not make it about his hand so much. Click off the side and look how nicer that fits in there. So now I don't have to fit into a perfect frame. I can change things around. You can also, and just to let you know, I can pull on one direction, but notice how it distorts the logo, or if this was a logo or something, how it distorts it. So now I can just go back, Control Z. That takes you backwards. So if you make a mistake, you hold Control, push Z, and this takes everything backwards, or Control Shift Z, and then I can take it back forwards again. So here's my nice screen by Kathy. She's got the nice revision number. She's got things set. Now she wants to start on slide 2. You know, you don't have to do it this way, but now you have a nice little layout, final tips and takeaways. Remember, on your wording, this is if you have the templates turned on, it's automatically going to ask you to do that. I don't want this lady in here. I'm going to turn around and click this off. Maybe I want that, but I want to take that honey pot and put that inside here. Or we're going to take the propolis and drop in. So some things you can do when you drop it in from the outside, things don't always pop in like they should. Always go in here and go insert picture from this device. I want to go back to the desktop, and I wanted the propolis and honey. So now when I have this, here's what it comes out to. It automatically knew that feature that was off to the side, and it put it in here for me. Do I like it? It's not too bad. I mean, that's completely up to you. I'm going to approve it, and then I'm going to put it back here right up against the side. And maybe that's what I like. So now I can change things around as I turn on and do this different stuff. If I didn't like it on layer, hold Shift or Control down, and then page down. So I can turn around and shift these things around, or I can click on the graphic, right click once, and then you'll see change picture, size, position, format, and then I can change things around this way. I can change up and down, or if I have multiple, let's do multiple graphics here, and I'll show you the difference. Let's pull in honeycomb.
Jamie, how are you getting them over? Are you hitting copy and paste?
Nope. I can take and drag. You can, any of my graphics here, if you drag them in like this one, I can drag it over. If it only pulls you up this way, it's usually a JPEG with protection, and then you have to go up to the insert picture and pull it in that way. Most of them will just do drag and drop. Okay, here is the PNG. Do I approve this? Do I want to edit it? And I can move things around. What you'll see with some of these is that here's this white background, and I hate this as a speaker when you go to do this. So here's my, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of this. Here's my honey dipper. Not about propolis for right now, but I want to turn on, and maybe that was part of my talk too. Now I can add graphics. This is a PNG that has transparency around the outside edge. It looks a lot better than, let me go into my graphics here, my graphics drive. And graphics. Okay. And let's grab one of these. There's a PNG. There's a PNG. So it doesn't have that white background to it. Let's grab. There's one that looks like a PNG but doesn't act like it. So you've seen the graphics where somebody has the white background. A trick to that is knowing the PNG has a transparent background. That's what I want to look nice than it is with a JPEG that has these outsides. And I'll show you how to convert that here in a second. So now I can take this, remember diagonal, drags it nice and evenly. I can turn around and have this set up. We'll take the fall leaves out for right now. I can Control C and copy. And then I could also take that into another slide and put this down below into something else. And if you use the designer in this, which you use in templates, this is going to give you suggestions. What do you want to do with it? And it lets you move things around at will. So it'll do the slice of it to make it look like the rest of them. You can slide down through here. This will do a lot of stuff for you and make it easier to make it look nice. So if you're not that creative type and you go, what looks good? That automatically starts lining them up, starts putting everything in, puts the little designs in the corner, enhances your presentation. So here's about PNGs. Let's go back up to the top. We'll start another slide. Over here in this top, this is about different shapes. I can come up here and create lines. If you had a row of wording and I wanted to move it around, I can turn around, put it this way. So maybe off to the side, I wanted to have a row of products and I just want to give it that little bit of separation. And then I can come over here and put my words and items I can make from items I can make from the colony. Remember in this, off to the side, I can change the font style. Always when you do this, think about what you can see and sit back, sometimes walk away, come back. And when you go through your PowerPoint, we'll talk about reviewing things. Go through this and go, can I read it quickly? And it doesn't catch my attention. Or does it look like this that, oh, let me grab a whole bunch of stuff. Control C. And does it look like this? Oh, here. And when you hold control, you can take your mouse and scroll in and out. Anything in this text box, I can stretch and I can move. So if you were going to do this, is it easily readable? For some, yes, they're going to catch that top. They're going to catch these, the wording up top in here, a little bit of that. But when you start overloading, unless you're going to have a handout with it, never load up a PowerPoint with tons and tons and tons of words. And try not to be a person who reads. Okay, number 2, I'm going to read interaction, storytelling, always improve, cons, different. That doesn't make a good storyteller. It means somebody that's printing it on the screen and doesn't know the subject, or, and please don't take this offensively. If I know my equipment, I should be able to say, and here's some other equipment to use, a laptop, internet, background, and you don't have to read it for that. Here's some other equipment that I use, and let them look at it, but don't put tons and tons and tons of wording. If you would, maybe you could take that into it like a cut, and maybe you were going to have a recipe, or you were going to attach it to a handout that the handout would go to them, and now they can take the time and read all this other stuff. So Control Z, we're going to take that back. Items, and then you can put these items in, and we'll put, let me see if I got some other stuff over here. There's some stuff here. So pop quiz, Kathy, which one's a PNG?
Two of them are, that top left and the honey on the right.
Okay, what is a JPEG?
That one with the white box.
Yes, very good. And why don't we we'll jump into this real quick. If you ever get a PowerPoint and you look at that and go, oh, that looks so nice, but this white box, I just hate this white box. If you had a white background, it's not going to have any effect to it. So let's go down here. Let's just start a new slide. Over here, okay, let me run through this real quick. Anything you have off to this side, when you right click, remember everything in PowerPoint, there's also right clicks, and this is in the paid version of the 365. I can cut it, copy it, paste it, a new slide, but it's going to give me that same kind of slide that it had before. So if I'm going to take the next slide and I'm going to do an add section or a layout, since I'm using templates on this, it automatically knows I want a blank. So I want to take the format. I want to take the next custom slide. And you can move these up and down in your PowerPoint and go, well, that one looks a lot easier. That I'm going to talk about that. And it just, the flow of it is better. So anything in here, I can right click, delete the slide, duplicate the slide. I like that. I'm going to have that. And then I'm going to put it in. This is a little bit more advanced. I'm going to have this that later on, that graphic is going to move down by itself. So now you can start putting move or animatronics, if you will, or animation to your slides. So when you put it down through here, everything you do, right click, has all these different. Reset the slide back to one of the original, duplicate it, delete it. Never delete anything until you're done to the very end. Make up extra slides. In a regular 1 hour presentation, you have about 45 minutes. About 30 slides, 35 slides tops will fit into that. And then if I make right tonight, if I made 45 slides, that means 1 every minute. Then I can go down when I review this in the end and go to my storyboard. Now I can start going through this and practicing and going, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about for this in the opening. And I'm going to do an introduction of myself. Here's what I'm going to do on this slide. Here's what I'm going to do on the introduction. And I'm only going to hit the key points. If you have excess, you can always take that slide and go, well, that one doesn't fit. I'm going to slide it to the end for right now. And I'm going to review that later that maybe it'll fit, or maybe I need to change some graphics a little bit. So your builder, go back to your builder and now start building back your stuff. So anything in the wording, nice and easy, legible. So maybe I want to turn around and make this a little bit louder. Maybe I want to make it a little bit darker so it stands out a little bit so people don't have eye strain, people sitting way in the back. And also when where you're going, how big are you going to be able to blow this up? Is it going to be something you on a stage where you can blow it up 20 foot by 20 foot? Or do they have a little tiny 4 foot by 5 foot screen that a lot of people are going to have to see? Some other things in here is shapes. I can go in here and create a shape. When you bring in shapes, if you're using the templates, it automatically starts putting the colors in here that's associated with the templates. So I can use in the color. I can use in outline. I can use effects. I can give it a shadow, a pretense. So I want to give this a little bit of a shadow to make it look like a button. I can turn around, pull this up to the side and customize it. I can put wording on top of it. If I really like that layout, I can hit Control C, Control V. And here's 3 other subjects that maybe it split out into. So I can talk about these 3 other, maybe the bees' health, what the bees use it for, and then what we use it for. So breaking things down into graphics and adding backgrounds to it is a nice impact. Let's go back to shapes. So you have circles, and depending on the software, triangles. I can make lines. I can say this connects to this. If all else it doesn't look right, hit Control or hit Delete. I can put an arc in here and add graphics to that and put line or words that match an arch, an arch, excuse me. An arrow, if you want to bring this out into a point later and say, this is the most important. And to match the color up, this is what I can do here. When you're moving into making a little bit of animation with this, duplicate the same slide So when you go to the next slide, it automatically has the animation with it. So you're actually, these two slides are the same slide, but as you hit the clicker, let's do it this way. So I'm going to go, let's go the opposite. I'm going to bring up some key points on this one. I'm going to duplicate this slide. I'm going to move this over one. I'm going to duplicate this again. And I'm going to duplicate this one more time. So if I was talking on these subjects, as I hit the clicker, here's what I'm going to talk about first, second, third. Now, it doesn't add to your timeline, but it adds animation. It adds more intense to it. Their eyes are tracking what you're talking about. So you're bringing them into the presentation than it is if you're turning on using the laser. I'm going to talk about this, and then I'm going to kind of move into this and move into this. You're bringing something else to it because people will go, why? And I hear this all the time. Why have all these shapes? You're bringing it. You could do that as a bouncing ball. You could actually make that into animation with the bees, with their wings fluttering, and then the bees flying from one to the next, maybe zipping around in a line and coming back to the third. So you can make this your absolute own, depending on how much time you have into this and you want to put into it. Any questions up to this point?
I have a question.
Yes,
Jamie,
Kathy.
can you make any of those, like how those buttons, those boxes look like buttons? Can you make buttons in there where it would be like you can click on it and it reveals information?
Not that you can click on, but when you're doing it this way, and we're just going to take this one right here. So here's my start off. I could have this where I'm going to duplicate slide. This is where they're not going to see. So this is you kind of working the magic in the background. I'm going to have that pop up on this next one. As that pops up, let's take away this one. Well, let's leave this one a minute. And the next one, we're going to do duplicate slide. And we're going to add this, Control C, Control V. You always want to make sure your alignments are there because someone will turn around and catch you like this. Okay, so there's your buttons. Here's the first thing you're going to talk about. When you hit the clicker, so each time you're hitting another frame, you're just hitting the clicker. You follow me on that, Kathy?
Yeah, thank you.
So as I click this, this isn't going to add to the link, but it's going to add to the animation to it. So when I click the next one, here's the button. It comes up. There's the slide. You notice how the movement?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to make sure that things kind of line up so it flows. So that's much better. So when I do this, when I put this into a PowerPoint, and let's do this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this, I'm going to go to transitions and go to morph. Okay. So when I do the PowerPoint, here's my PowerPoint. I'm going to go into PowerPoint. So I go to my slide. There's my slide. See how it automatically moves for you? And it automatically moves in your transitions. So you didn't make the graphics, you just made it morph, and that it's more of a deeper dive into it. But you can make things look as though you spent thousands of hours on this whole slide that just moved back and forth. I have one that there's two bees, and the bee actually flies and then goes in a circle and kind of dips around. It's got sound that turns on, and you hear the bee zzz, and it's showing the flower from the stamen to the stamen, the flower from the male for the female, that the bee pollinates the flower without having to say that the bee pollinated the flower.
That'd be the pistil, right?
Or pistil, thank you. Stamen to the pistil. So when you try to use morph is a little bit more advanced, but when you use duplicate slides, there's some PowerPoints that I have that are like 90 slides. But if you look at it, it's just I'm talking about one thing, moving it to the next, So you have those graphics. It kind of changes the way you put it together because now you're adding it to add animation to it. And that's your transition buttons. So that's a little bit deeper dive. Let's go into just back to the basics on this. So I like this PowerPoint, but I just hate that white background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the internet and we're going to pop this up and we're going to do, and it's a simple one. It's called Remover BG Free. So remove.bg. I can take anything that has that white background to it. So I wanted that little honey jar or that honey jar. I drag it and I drop it right on that graphic. So within this own website, and it's going to strip the background out right for me. So if you have any picture, a picture of a person, and it's got a real busy background, and you want just the PNG, the transparency of it, I want that jar. So I'm going to hit download. This is the free version. So this is going to be my honey jar. And I'm going to save this right now for the desktop. For you, you're going to start saving them and putting them together in folders. So right here, here's my PowerPoint. There's my jar, but that was a JPEG. Now I can take my honey jar that I just used to strip everything off. And now, which one looks better? So now I have PNG, PNG, PNG. Get rid of my JPEG. Now what flows together much easier? Everything looks really nice. Now, if you had a white background in your talk, let's just do File New, a blank presentation. Here's my blank presentation, and I'm not really into the whole color thing. And there's a lot of people that are not. I don't want to really have to put in a bunch of designs. That white background might look okay if I wanted to put other colorful wording with it. Or I wanted to put a honeybee with it that has a white background. So knowing what you're going to put together, even at that white background is still a little bit, this would still look better here as a PNG. So even if you want to go plain, a PNG is transparent background. JPEG has that background to it. So some other things on here. So you have arrangement, both arrangements side by side. You can change the order of it. I can change this and go underneath. So if I'm changing things on top and I want this to come forward, I click on it, bring to front, and they remember the layers of the cake. So if I'm having different graphics and I want to put things on top or a bunch of graphics and they overlap a little bit, now I can move things up and down within my stack, send to back. Or if I'm going to lay them out this way, you're fine that way. Anybody have any questions on this? So PNGs versus JPEG. Mr. Ted, Laura, Kim. All right. So going down through your PowerPoint, you can insert, and we'll go over just a few more pictures in this. Here's where I want you to start saving all of your stuff. So on your hard drive, you're going to have a C drive. For me, I have a bunch of different drives, and mine's just for graphics. My most used, picture, club logos, icons. So as I find things that I want to do to my talk, go do your research first and start putting all your graphics together. You know, an ambulance doesn't cut it, but why did I have an ambulance? I did a talk on being stung. if you need the county emergency and your breathing gets cut off. So sometimes you go, why do I need that graphic? Start thinking about all the different things that gets people's attention when you start doing your talk. If I just had a basic, seek emergency search. Let's put it in here. Seek emergency attention. If you notice how this plays out and it automatically rolls, if I don't want it to roll, I just give it enough room. Or I can come in here and shrink my font style to fit that. So if I had this, it'll tell me which one catches your attention first. Seek immediate attention, or emergency attention. Does that catch your attention? Or Control V or Control B, ZB, bring it back again. Insert picture, this device. And where'd I have my ambulance? I can't find it now. Ambulance. Right there it is. Insert. Now, which one catches your attention? So having things, it might seem kind of crazy at times. You go, okay, approve it. If it has extra room and you don't want to distort this, when you drop it in, you can actually right click on that graphic and hit crop and then shrink those borders down so it doesn't interfere with anything else. Or I can actually have graphics that when I say seek immediate attention, emergency attention, and I can turn on and come in here. Let's go home. Let's change the font style down to back 20. There. So in my talk, I say, seek emergency attention. The next click on my mouse, all of a sudden you see the emergency squad pulling in, and you have the woo, 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 woo in the background. What catches your attention? You'd have to take this out. But you're doing things to catch their attention to bring the importance of what you're talking about to the forefront. So you can bring in the animation here. You could make these lights turn on and off. There's tons of things you can do in the background. And you can put in little videos of this. If you see a rescue squad driving by, take your camera in horizontal and take a picture of it as it's coming through, or you can take the videos off the internet. So make this about what you want to express, the points of, the attention of, your products of, and that's just the basics of the background. So inserting, and we'll kind of end this. Let's go to, we won't get into videos tonight because that's going to be a long photo albums. You can turn on do shapes, icons, smarts, charts, text box, headers and footers. You can get into all kinds of different designs where the graphics is just not graphics, but they really look 3D. You can enhance. Honey is acidic. And I can blow this up, go back to home, and I can blow this font up. Anything you can do. And once you get your lineup, and you can turn on play with this for hours and hours and hours. Think about each slide that you're putting together. Don't have it be really condensed with tons of information. Than it is, I could go in here and duplicate slide, and I can delete this one, go back to the top one. And if I had information on this slide, as I click the next one, then that information comes up. Or a little bit of an advanced, if I wanted to get my point across and I add some animation to this, on my clicker, I can say transition. I want a animation. I want this one to fade in. I want this one to split in. And I want this one to have random bars. So on this slide, when I turn on and do the PowerPoint, let's go back one slide. Honey's acidic. Honey's acidic. Honey's acidic. See how each one came in differently? And you can do that with a paragraph. 2 or 3 words, 2 or 3 words that came in slowly. That one come in from sides coming in. And this one came into bars and blew out this way. So when I turn on and put this together, I could have this be the subject of number 1, number 2. And as I do the clicks, and we're going to do it, we're going to go into an in-depth next Saturday of really putting an entire PowerPoint together. So I could have each one of those as a different subject and have it come out in morph, split. Now you can add some, let's just do this one. There's a swirl. And I could have a lot of animation, or these things jump in the screen, and anything in your animation, I can make it go slow or fast on my timing on the side. So I can take that duration and have it spin really, really slow to catch somebody's attention. Or I can have it flash in real fast. And when you're speaking on it, match your animation. If you have big words that say an emergency, it's an emergency. Catch them off guard. Have everybody, and always be watching. I always look at the audience in a figure 8. And if you see someone is kind of drowning out, influx that next word and catch them off guard. Your slideshow overall, and I'm going to end with this, and then I'll go through some of my PowerPoints and I'll show you. From the beginning to the current slide, rehearse with a coach. This could be your kids. This could be your husband. This could be you looking in a mirror. For me, out of my 10 monitors here, I'll turn on a monitor directly above me. And when I'm doing my talk, I'm recording it at the same time. If all of a sudden I do, that's a habit and it can easily be broke. Record yourself with your cell phone, with a voice recorder, with somebody, and you have to be open to this. Your family members, when they see an inflection of that you missed the words, or maybe your PowerPoint doesn't flow right, let them write those comments down to you and take those as criticism of your own family. You can always fix them something nasty for the next meal for dinner, or don't fix meal at all. But my wife is my worst critic. And she'll say that PowerPoint went really good, but slide number 5 and number 6, and she'll do it when I'm at a presentation like in Michigan. I'll see my wife. If I see my wife writing notes, I know that something in that PowerPoint didn't jive, or the spelling was off, or I done an influx at the wrong time. That maybe when I said, oh, seek emergency attention. Does that sound good? Or seek immediate emergency. I should have put emergency attention. You know, so your best critics, and then build up your confidence with a B club that you know, of everybody that you know, and then go from there and then get it bigger. Know your subject, know what you're talking about 100% in and out. If you know something on growing flowers that attaches with bees, this could be a master gardener talk. You could take us into a little kids. Little kids are not going to sit here and read tons of words unless it's very, very basic. So just little words, lots of animation. I have a PowerPoint that's built probably for 3 and 4 and 5-year-olds that just has that. Then it has cartoon characters as all the bees. Bees with bees feeding each other. Tropholaps, they feed each other tongue to tongue. But when they do that and they see it and they see the word with it, I'm not going to say that to kids and put in the scientific word for it. I'm going to put in that they're feeding each other. And then you tell the kids they feed each other tongue to tongue. Oh, you hear it all the kids. Oh, that's gross. Well, festooning, you could have that as a word. Monkeys in a barrel. For the older generation, everybody understands monkeys in a barrel. You held the monkey, they have the two hooks, you hook the monkeys and you hook them up. When you take that to kids nowadays, the kids look at you and go, what? But the teachers or the parents or the older generation, if you go do a talk, they'll go, I know exactly what you're talking about. So this is just some of the basics. You can record yourself. If you have a camera, record yourself. Be your own worst critic. And I will tear my entire talk apart and be my own worst critic. You can record the audio. Reviewing. Here's what I do, and this is just a tip and a trick. I'll go through my PowerPoint, and when you're going through your PowerPoint, notice your timer up top. So start at your very first. Go all the way back to your slide 1. Take a deep breath. Hi, I'm Jamie Walters. I just want to talk to you tonight. I turn on have, I've kept bees for over 18 years. I do public speaking. Right there, you caught yourself. Run that timer. Don't let it turn on and scare you, but kind of run your timer at the end when I'm wrapping up on slide 21, that I'm just about at that 40-minute mark, because most talks are 45 minutes with a 15-minute Q&A at the end. Adding animation to it, people go, oh, and you're really emphasizing the first one. That here's the products of different what propolis is. This is why bees use propolis and where it comes from. And number 3, and then you can just fade right into it. So don't take your amount of slides. You might have 80 slides, but you have tons of animation with it that looks really good. So your show bar, your end. Another thing, if you go through your PowerPoint and it just doesn't flow right, here's to go where your flow's at. Try not to break up your animation, but if I find something in here and I want to start right off the bat and really turn on to kind of bark at them and get their attention, or I think, okay, they're going to pay attention to that first maybe 10 slides. Maybe if I got an influx of my voice, I don't want to sound monotone, maybe I want to drop this in right here, right before I start going into products. Or here's the bee stinging, and then I'm going to explain what happens after the bee sting, and then go into these other products. So some of these boomers, I call them boomers, things that you're going to leave at the end, and always at the end, the wrap up. A nice thank you. I always put in mine, there are no dumb questions, because you will get done with your PowerPoint, you'll get ready to walk off stage or get ready to get done, and 10 people swarm you. And what questions are you going to hear? Basically the same question that maybe somebody out in the audience would have wanted to hear that they were too scared. So I always kind of throw in, I call it the dum-dum. My wife is usually the dum-dum. She'll raise her hand and ask a dumb question, because you want someone else. And once you light off that first and second question, then the questions will flow after that, because everybody's kind of scared of asking the dum-dum question. On my PowerPoints, let's just grab one of mine real quick, and I'll show you just some things, some do's and don'ts. Presentation, Jamie. 1-day introduction. That's a good one. 1-day introduction. So here's my PowerPoint. Bees. Now I have sound on my newer versions. If it doesn't have a version, that means one of my old talks. I learned, don't do this. You can turn on and say, do you know Albert Einstein? And you can kind of hit some highlights on it. I used to put a bunch of this in here, but now I have a slideshow that automatically flashes the first one. When I started this back in 2006, 7, I started out as a master gardener. But when I say it, the animation goes from there, and then this one blanks out. This pops up, Ohio Certified Naturalist or Ohio Certified Volunteer Naturalist. That goes dark. This one pops up. I became a life member right off the bat. That goes dark. And then it kind of does an animation of all the way around this whole thing. And then the last two pop up. So now I've created all this little animation And then we won an award for the pollinator sanctuary. Board members, you know, when you put this kind of information in, go over the highlights that we want to welcome to you. The bathroom's over here. Lunch is going to be at noon, and just kind of hit the highlights. Don't go through tons and tons of wording. And this is for our 1-day class that we put on. Barb Bletcher, so you know Barb Bletcher is no longer our state apiarist, but you know this talk was way back when. Tons of information, but this also assists with a handout. So Man Lake, Dayton, CRBs in our area that sells bees. You know, who has nukes in our area. So when you go through, if you put too much, I used to lose people in this conversation, but then I would say, does anybody know that guy really, really old, King Tut? And then, you know, what was with King Tut? Well, he had clay evers that had honey in it, and then you can kind of point it out. I don't want to sit and read this. And I used to do that with my very first talks. And my wife used to ding me quite a bit. Lorenzo Langstroth, the father of American beekeeping. That's all I have to say. If you have somebody that's going to take a picture, kind of watch your audience. When they're getting ready to take a picture, leave it up for an extra second. The beekeeper, animal husbandry now. You're going to take care of the health and disease. You're going to provide them shelter, forage, and bees. You know, genetics a little bit, but you got to be mental and crazy because when the bees are coming and everybody's running, you're running to the bees. So when you put things in here, have it be about, you know, I got all my talks now don't have, if I do, I usually have 1 or 2 handouts with all the different stuff. There's what Jamie used to do back then. Honey, cut comb, propolis. And then I'm sitting here telling everybody all about each one of these products. So how long did I spend on that slide? Probably 7-8 minutes. When I had another 35 slides to go underneath that burn up my time. Here's my animation that now, this is my old one, but now I have one that I cut out all the white, took all the wording off, and the bee goes and lands over here. So I just added to it. I improved on it. You know, pollination, the economics of it, the facts of it. These facts, I actually make 55,000 and put 1 pound. 2 million flowers. I take a big tree, like an American elm or American basswood, and show all the flowers on the tree. Where do you find 2 million flowers at? You know, it's easier to go up in a tree than it is on the ground. So when you start asking things like that, you know, there's me as that's probably my 5th year of beekeeping, 2 of them right in the eye. I mean, right along the eye. My first time beekeeping alone, 300 stingers in 1 glove. Do you put frames in a box? Absolutely. There's Jamie's biggest mistake. So you learn, and I've learned over time what makes a good talk. You know, pictures, you can kind of highlight who different people are. But here's my wrap up all the time. Open discussion, Q&A. And now it says at the end, and it flashes at the bottom, it says there are no dumb questions. And it just lets people know when you're wrapping up towards the end is when I turn on and flash my contact information. And for me, I tell everybody, I've always put my blah, blah, blah. I always put my mouth where I always back up my information. So if you want to contact me, I'll help you turn around and get into bees or put you into someone that will help you in your area. So it's just a lot of different things that you see. You know, mine's not the best by far. I've seen a lot of other good presenters, good speakers. You know, Jim too. You turn around and start talking about some of the old timers. If you have a speaker that has the wow factor, and I always say that, those are the people that no matter how long that talk goes, whatever he's covering, he always adds in. He always makes jokes about himself or herself, personal stories. So you got a little story time in there too. Basic slides, colorful slides, and kind of wrap it all up and make it about you and what your experiences was and what you're trying to express to the people. Those are the talks that when I'm done, we always leave. When we leave, my wife says, "Did you knock this one out of the park?" And I'm like, it got to the fence, but it fell inside the court or it fell inside the ball field. Or there's sometimes that I've hit them and boom, I know that when I left, I had 3 people walking out to the parking lot with me that wanted to keep on talking about bees. That's when you knock them out of the park. Any questions tonight? Next Saturday, we're going to go into a absolute deep dive and build a PowerPoint from scratch. We're going to build one with a white background with graphics. We're going to add in the animation to it. We're going to go through all these different slides, and we're going to use the open office version, the paid version, and I'm going to show you the difference between the two because all these different buttons do get overwhelming. You know, do I want to draw? Do I want to insert? What do I want to do? A cameo? But start off with just something simple, and as you build up your repository of photos, your information that you collect, your information of what you want to display on here. And at the end, always go through here and go, okay, what fit? You know, I can take this and move it down here, or I can take that and move it up there. Or maybe I shouldn't even start off with this guy. If you find something that you can think you can flow later, you can go in here and put your mouse on it, right click, and put hide slide. And it's just going to gray it out. And then go back through your talk again. If it goes, it really did work. Right click on that again and put unhide and bring it back in. So when you're going through your flow every time, if you do a talk and you do it 5 times to yourself or with a loved one or your family, and it really flows, you know it within your head and your ears that it flowed. Everything, I didn't have in fluctuations. I didn't have to stutter. I didn't have to do anything. And it flowed real nice. Any questions?
Jamie, I had a question in the chat. Where did
Yes.
you say to save those graphics? Was that to your C drive?
Okay.
Or I
Or-
think you were getting to it, but I'm not sure I heard
Yep.
an answer.
Yeah, for your C drive, so most of you are going to have a C drive like this, okay? When you start building your photos up, you can right click. Let me blow this up for everybody. So there's your C drive. Most laptops, PCs, and everything are just going to have a single drive. You can get an additional hard drive to this and start putting things on like a backup drive or a My Book. But if you want to put it on your device, you could go in here and right click, make folder, and this is going to be, we're just going to call this graphics right now. So I'm just going to start a graphics folder. You don't have to have all these other hard drives and all this other stuff. So your graphics drive, and then you can put this, I can drag it, right click and hold, create shortcut, and now here's a shortcut with here's my folder. So there's my graphics folder. If you've already have photos of your beehives and you have photos of different things, now I can go in here and create a folder and say photos. Well, let's just do this. Cell phone horizontal pictures. Right click again, left click, cell phone vertical. I'm going to call this one PNGs folder. I'm going to call that JPGs. Make one video. So now as I start building this up, I can turn around and start putting things in there, and it's right on my C drive. There's also removable drives and things you can turn around, plug in USB. Let me see, I got one right. Here's my Western Digital. So it's a 1 terabyte. It plugs in with a USB, and when I put my PowerPoints together, you could put all your stuff on this too. So you could plug it in, build your PowerPoint, save everything, and then when you unplug it, you could actually use this right with it. Kathy, how did you drop this? Did I answer that, Kathy, for you?
You did, thanks.
Okay. And your C drive, you could build this. Think of it like a file cabinet, if you will. So my file cabinet, I mean, this is nobody's going to have this, but I have one hard drive. It's a 1 terabyte that has all my presentations. One for graphics, one for video, one for family, one for my life, one for photography, one all for OSBA. But you could do this all within your C drive. And as you build this up, then I can go in here and let's just say, if you want to start getting specific, now I'm going to say this is just bees. In your bee folder, after you start getting 30 and 40 and 60 pictures, you don't want to have to scroll through like, oh, I'll pull one of mine up in here. Let's see, Jamie, presentations, my life. Oh, where is it? My life, bees. So I have a folder that's just called bees. All the different ones in an apiary, different awards, bait hives, how to make a bait hive, bearding, how they festoon, bee friends, bees, different beekeepers at clubs, bottom boards, BSBA 2000, bumblebees, how to make a bumblebee, gardening, grafting, Halloween parade, Jamie Ellis, Wooster conference. Anybody that knows me, I walk around with a camera all the time. So as you build your repository up, OTS, on the spot, how to make splits with a hive tool. So how to make nukes and how to make splits. Pollinator specialist class. So you'll see tons of things. Some of these pictures will make no sense to anybody else but me. So when you go down through here, there's habitat planting that we went out and planted pollinator mix. There's Roger on a 4-wheel drive. So tons and tons of pictures that if I ever wanted to use them, there's a waterer. So what's the best
Remember
thing?
whatever I had in there. So what is your system? You just put it all under bees and then you have to scroll through it? Or do you make it
Yep.
so that that's a searchable item for you? I
Yep.
mean, I'm just overwhelmed looking at that, but I have,
Nope.
some folders that have pictures in them, but I usually go by date.
Yeah, you can
So-
do it by date. I start to actually, when I do this, let me get back to the graphics folder here. Graphics. When I take my bees, then I'll come in here and give it nukes. Then I'll go in here and put, as you start building up, if you start getting in, let's just say you had, let's go, let me go this.
So you really have some sort of a system that you're remembering different things. And I'll just say flowers, because I take lots of pictures of my different flowers and I just don't know how to store them or sort them. So I can potentially play around with it this way. If I'm saying like sunflowers, then put all my sunflower pictures in one thing, or all my dahlia pictures.
Yep.
Lots and lots of dahlia pictures.
What I usually do is have all my folders here that keep building. Let's just call these single bees. So as I start throwing pictures in here, and here's all my pictures, and this is just a sample. Here's all the pictures that I start collecting. Okay, now's the time. I got an hour to sit down and start sorting. Well, there's a honeybee, single bee. Yep, that goes in there. Well, that's not a bee. So now I need to make a folder. And what's the difference between a bee and a wasp? Because everybody says, oh, I know what a honeybee is in the fall. Nope, it's a wasp. Yep, there's a wasp. There's a honeybee. That's wax foundation. I don't have a folder yet. So I go in here, create another folder. So think of it as your, let's do wax foundation. And this is how you're building up your repository. So when I do it, if you notice, here's one with a white background. So I know that's a JPEG. This one is bleached out. So I know that's a PNG. And these are different sizes. So why, I mean, some people are like, why you got 4 of them? Because there's different ones that I use for different stuff. So as I start putting things away, now I'm building up, quote, my file cabinet, if you will.
Sure.
You can always take those and go into this folder then and right click and go search or view, and you can do it by date. You can turn around and list them this way too. So you can sort by date modified. So if you go, oh, I just took a picture of hollyhocks, and I know that picture's in there, but I didn't do it, and you have tons and tons of pictures. Now you can turn around and go in here, date modified or size, and then pull up the most recent by date, click up the date, or if you knew what you called it, you can go into this folder and say, let's just do wax foundation. As I put it in my search here, now it's going to go through all those folders and find all of those that were that wording.
And then I had one other question for you.
Yep, not a problem.
So I have relatively new computer and I'm just still getting used to it.
Yep.
And so it has a lot of space on it because I didn't transfer anything over I didn't transfer a bunch over, but stuff saves to the cloud and then I have to, is there a shortcut way to save it to your C drive? Because then mine always goes to that OneDrive personal and I need to figure out a way to just make sure it stays on my computer, because if I don't pay for the storage on the cloud, then it maxes out, I think.
Yeah. Go down to your bottom, and this is the IT, Jamie. So I switch places for you. If you go down to your bottom and find that cloud service, you can right click on the service and shut it off.
Okay.
I don't like things saving to the cloud because it fills up. Then the next thing you know, they want to charge you, X amount of dollars to everything. If
Yeah.
I save it, a good thing to do, I mean, this is an IT. I've been in IT all my life. Have this all backed up. So if you have it on your C drive, here's all the pictures. I mean, you can do this. I do the same thing with all my family pictures. So all my family pictures, I got anything with family pictures, or somebody sends me photos, if it's family, it gets loaded in this gigantic things of all the family. So as I load this up, there's bees in there because it's families at a bee event. Dee's picture, Dee's phone, Katie's archery, Katie's this, Katie's that. So I build these repositories up of information. A good thing to do is to have like a MyBook or a Western Digital, like a backup, that you can turn on and back this up every once in a while, say once a week, once a month. That way, if anything would ever happen, you have this as a backup. So you would never lose these photos or all that information in one shot.
Okay. Thank you.
So Jamie, I have a question on the heels
Yeah.
of that. I use Dropbox and I've been using it for a while, but I pay for it. It's like $10 a month and I'm tired of paying for it. Do that what you have, the thing that looks like a flask? What's that thing? Is that better
This is called My Passport.
So is that better to use than Dropbox? Like, should I be transferring everything there?
I have two things about online are good. So you can take it between device. You can turn on and your husband or your wife or your kids can turn on and get into the same Dropbox. And like for my family, we all have one box in the cloud that everybody drops pictures of each other or family events. They put it in, then I pull it off. If you want it for yourself as a backup, I suggest that, or let me grab all my big ones up here.
Do you pay for your box that you all use though?
No, I use Google.
And it holds all them? Because I was using Google and it was full.
Yeah, Google will, if you start, I started a beekeeping account. It's just Jamie Bees. I don't get email at it or nothing. And it holds up to like 6 or 7 gigabyte. When it starts to get full, and then this is the big one I have, it's like a 2.5 terabyte.
Yeah.
And then I back everything up to this. It sits up on the shelf. Once a month, I'll back up everybody's phone, all my stuff. This has every picture that I've taken. And I probably got 6 or 7 of these now. And
Wow.
then what I do, they're numbered on the back. They got a little number on the back. And I know in my little catalog that if I want pictures of all the stuff that I do when I take landscapes or pictures of weddings and do stuff, I can pull this one, hook it up, start it up, and everything's right there. This way I know I have it. And there's a backup of a backup, if you will.
What are those things called?
These are the same thing. These are Western Digital. These are my notebook, and these are 3 terabytes.
Okay, thanks.
And a terabyte is, I mean, it's huge.
Yeah.
You could probably hold 60,000 photos on a terabyte, if not more.
Okay.
But I always believe into backing it up and to have a backup of a backup, because when electronics goes bad, it's all of a sudden my cell phone went bad. I lost my pictures, or this went bad. No different than this gigantic monster. You know, this is probably more than some 65 perfect Corvettes right now. The motherboard had a meltdown, and you know, and I didn't lose anything because I have everything on backup all the time. So as I get time, when I have folders like this, you know, you all have those moments where you go, okay, it's time to turn around and start sorting pictures. Oh, Winnie the Pooh. Okay, that could be a kid's talk. Oh, kids folder. And then I'll make this. Oh, there's pictures of Brood. There's pictures of Jess and Dee catching a swarm. I'll start putting these in. And as you start doing talks, I put these right into my PowerPoint. And you can make this whole storyline behind, you know, right there, pollen. There's my nukes. In the springtime, you turn around, and when they start bringing in pollen, what color's the pollen? And everybody will go, well, it's purple, it's red, it's this, it's that. That's what have you ever sat in front of your beehive and watched pollen come in? So you can turn around and you can make a story up with like anything, but make it your own. Like when I went down to visit Lorenzo Langstroth, I went to visit his place. It's a little tiny white house. Took a picture of that, took a picture of his house, and it's in my repository. And yep, right there. Or brick and white peach gray. But there's his house. So you could do a whole talk on, you know, just on stuff like that. And then if I wanted to, I could go in there and take any of these photos. And if I didn't want to use, let's just say, there's me getting a swarm. Say there's any of these and I wanted the background taken out, I could take this to the remover BG and strip the background out and then have a PNG of it for a talk. If I didn't want to have the whole thing on there. So, you know, Dr. J. Evans, you know, I just collect, because when you do a talk, you know, it's like, there's all the stuff that I paint. We take a 1 gallon color, whatever is the cheapest, or returned paint. Go and pick it up for $5-6 a gallon. You paint. You put good primer, 2 coats primer, and you paint it up. But right there's a story. You know, where can you buy the paint cheap? How do you apply the paint? How do you turn on and, you know, how do you paint it and stack them up? Little shims. That goes right into your story of a beginner talk. Or do they always have to be, why do beehives always mostly white? Well, if they're colored, the bees don't drift from hive to hive. You know, you start taking your knowledge of beekeeping, and if you build it into a story, you will never forget it. Everything I've ever learned, I've put into a story, and I never forget it again. Thank you very much, ladies, for attending. I will put this out next week. We're going to go into a deep dive and actually build a PowerPoint from scratch, and then do some animation. We're going to add some videos to it, so you know how to do that and everything. We're going to do it by the paid version and the free version. So depending on what your budget is, and not knocking one against the other, we're going to walk through those steps, so you know when you make a PowerPoint that you know that you have it. You're going to show up at that presentation. I'll give you tips and tricks again, that you're going to put it on, put it in your laptop, present it, and you're going to do 100%. So other than that, I will let everybody have a good night. Thank you for joining me and spending your evening with me. and I hope you have a good night.
Thanks, James.
Jamie.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.